Hello, everyone, and welcome to the tavern. I'm the Dapper Bard, and I'm in a great mood. It is New Year's Eve when I'm recording this, so there might be some fireworks or other noise coming over from my neighbors. It is what it is, but you know what? I'm in a celebrating mood too. My channel had a huge amount of growth this year. In fact, my New Year's resolution was improving my channel. I got over 450 new subscribers. To ginormous channels, that's not much. But to my channel, that's probably more people than I got in 2023 and 2022 combined. That kind of growth is amazing to me, and I'm so glad that I have a bunch of new viewers who either got introduced to my channel via Battletech, or me yelling about Wizards of the Coast, or me yelling about Games Workshop, or me yelling about X-Men 97, or me yelling about Fallout, or me yelling about Gundam-related stuff. I have a lot of different shows, a lot of different types of episodes I throw on, and I'm glad I've attracted a really awesome audience. Now, a core thing to keep note of is the fact that that number of subscribers nearly doubled my amount of subscribers. I'm almost up to 1,000. I'm literally this close away from being monetized, and that is huge. I can't wait to actually achieve that status. More than that, I did 77 videos this year, which is crazy numbers in my opinion. That means I spent half the year doing 2 videos a week, which is crazy to think about because I didn't realize I did that many videos. I was sitting there going like, oh, I did a couple extra videos here and there, probably 60 tops. 77. So proud of myself. That's a lot of hard work, and it shows that my dedication to this channel has grown significantly beyond what it was in previous years. Not only that, but only a couple of videos were even duds. For the most part, everything got over 100 plus viewers, and that really made me feel good about stuff. Because yeah, 100 viewers might not be a lot to, again, other channels out there, but when you have only, between 500 and 900 subscribers, which I had for the majority of the year, that means a lot. That means there's a group of people who generally love my content and want to see what I have to say about different subjects. And frankly, that really just makes me feel good. It's cool to know that there are people who watch me, who like me, and I wish I knew more of my audience better. To that extent, I am hoping to start streaming on YouTube in 2025, primarily because that would give me a better opportunity of getting to know my audience. And that would be really cool for me because you guys all seem like you're awesome people. We'll see what happens. I can't make any promises just yet, but it is something I would really like to get into. One of the big things I need to talk about are my top 5 videos of the year. I was kind of surprised at what became the top 5, especially because I really thought my parasocial behavior video would have made the top 5, but it got edged out by just a smidge. So, I'm glad that video did well, but at the same time, I'm also perfectly fine with these other videos being that place, because it shows to me what everyone is into when they watch my channel. So number 5 was my video about Wizards of the Coast and plagiarism. This one did incredibly well, and I think this was a story that kind of went under the radar. I didn't see a lot of other tabletop YouTubers talking about it. Maybe I'm watching the wrong people, or maybe everyone is like, oh, Wizards got caught doing something bad again. It's a Thursday. But I think this was important. And being able to show the image of here's what they did with the card, here's what the other thing looks like, you have that little moment of going, yeah, I see it there. It goes to show you just how much decline Wizards of the Coast has had. Honestly, I wish I didn't get so busy in the winter season because I would have loved to have done a breakdown of the terrible art that is in the current player's manual for 5.5. That being said, this was still a very interesting discussion. It's really showing you just how pathetic Wizards has really become and why it is better for us to go out and support indie companies. Number 4 was my Games Workshop store policy changes video. This was one of 2 Games Workshop videos I did, and it ended up in the top 5. For those who don't know, this video was about me discussing how they've changed their policies when it comes to how they will sell minis in the future. Obviously, their methodologies will screw over a lot of game stores, and that was the core reason why I wanted to talk about this. These big companies think they can just walk all over everyone, and I will never hold anything against anyone who plays 40K or Warhammer Fantasy, as they are both amazing games. I do want people to think about the company they're supporting, and maybe find alternative methods to playing these games. Number 3 was no surprise to me. It was Battletech Faction Briefings, Wolf's Dragoons, Alpha Regiment. Yeah, this of course was going to be in the top 5. It is my most popular Battletech Faction Briefing video of the year. And it might compete with my most popular Battletech Faction Briefing video to date. But those other videos obviously have a lot more time to build up an audience, while this one, boom, it hit my summer off with a bang, and I'm so glad that it was really popular. So I will try to get some of the more popular mercenary groups and house units done this year, but I will point out that I like doing my esoteric units because I feel they deserve love. So anyone who enjoys the smaller units, don't think I'm going to quit doing those anytime soon. Number 2 is the Fallout spoiler review video. This video featured me and my brother yelling for about 50 minutes about why we hate the Fallout TV series and everything they got wrong, and yes, a few little things they got right. But it's not a complete hate video. There were some things they did correctly. I dropped this video at just the right time, and I think that really had an impact on how popular it became. Because if I had waited another couple of weeks, I doubt anyone would have viewed it. But I dropped it right when the discussion of whether or not Fallout is a good series was going on. It was also a fun video to make. I got to yell about something alongside my brother, and we're both Fallout fans. Now, I'd love to do more videos like this, but it's finding something worth discussing. The one thing I will promise is that we will cover the Warhammer Amazon series, which I was told is coming in 2025, but it might be 2026. Either way, I guarantee we will be talking about that. Other shows? Not sure. Just depends what kind of strikes our fancy at the moment. And obviously what streaming services we have access to, which is limited right now, but you know, it is what it is. My number 1 video was Games Workshop versus 3D printing. Speaking of alternative methods, this was a great video. Not only the research I did for this one really gave me insight into the subject matter of 3D printing and how major companies view it, but also the fact that it really showed the lengths to which Games Workshop will go to protect their IP. And while E-Man-G, yes, did kind of break copyright law to some extent, this feels like something where a major company, if they're not going to make the mini, probably shouldn't chase after people who do. The comments went on and on and on, and even now, my feelings are very mixed on stuff. I generally like the idea of 3D printing out my minis, especially for things that the company won't make, and in the sake of Battletech, that's a lot of stuff. I've complained about that in plenty of videos. If I was a 40k player, not against having those special units I really want on the board. You know, I'm not like I think everything should be 3D printed, and I don't have a 3D printer of my own. I'd have to go to a friend, or I'd have to buy the STL file and find a 3D printer somewhere where I could plug it in. Either way, it is a very interesting subject, and I'm not surprised it made it to my number 1 video at a whopping 3,600 plus views as of the last time I checked. And I promise there will be more Games Workshop shenanigans in the future, and I will be covering them because their business practices are disgusting. Okay, so let's break down some of the various video subjects I covered. In the TV and movies side, there was only 2 shows I actually discussed this year, X-Men 97 and Fallout. Now, I already said that Fallout did incredibly well, and both of my Fallout videos did very well. Considering the amount of editing I had to do to rush those 2 out, which was exhausting, especially because the discussion of me and my brother, the initial audio came out so bad, we had to re-record it. And that audio didn't even come out that great either, so it was just a nightmare of work. But if anyone's seen our Christmas video or our Voltron videos, then you've heard what we sound like now, so the audio definitely got improved over the last few months. Then I have my X-Men 97 stuff, which is really odd. Most of them did not have that many views, except for episode 5 and episode 8, which had a huge amount of views. And I have no idea why. I can't explain it. It just is what it is. The one thing I will say is, I'm glad I didn't wait to do a full series review, because people's interest in X-Men 97 vaporized fast. And being able to do it week by week kept people's interest and allowed me to discuss my feelings episode by episode and build up my hype for stuff. When I thought they were going to do Operation Zero Tolerance, I was really hyped. And then they just teased it, kind of did a micro version, not even really, of it, and then jumped directly into Fatal Attractions. And I was like, then why bring it up? Do Fatal Attractions and add more of the weird cultist dudes around Magneto. There's some cool stuff you could have done, but you know, God forbid we do something good. And even that being said, my final review for the show wasn't even that bad. I wish more people watched my episode 10 because they would see what my final thoughts were on the series instead of thinking I hated it, which I did. I quite enjoyed it. I might do a full series review if a season 2 gets announced. Then maybe I'll rewatch it and just give it like a proper full series review. Maybe I'll do a team-up review with my brother, though he's not as big of an X-Men fan as me. Maybe I gotta find a friend who is an X-Men fan and we can both discuss it together. Future ideas, but still something to think about for next year. Next is my Hasbro Wizards of the Coast drama videos. 2 of them basically taught me a very valuable lesson, and that was the Hasbro financial report and the Mattel financial report. Neither of these did particularly good in numbers. Makes me question whether or not I'll cover the Hasbro report this year. I'm back and forth on it. We'll just see how I feel when we get to February. As for my main videos, the ones that did the best involved AI, it involved the digitization of the product, and job losses. One of those things that did very was my Red Box Warrior discussion, which just went nowhere. I'm very surprised how few views that actually got, because it was really a discussion of how terrible the monetization practice is of the blind boxes, especially for those who want to collect everything, and how it would utterly screw over your wallet. I guess no one cares about the 50th anniversary merch. I don't blame you. I don't care about it either. But overall, these videos do very well, and I'm glad people are with me and want to fight the good fight. As for my free talks and assorted oddities, very mixed results. My 2 book reviews did okay. It seems like people really enjoyed my book reviews, but my viewership wasn't high of my book reviews. So I'm not sure. I've kind of have a few up here I'd like to talk about, but I don't know if I'm going to put that into video format or not. The Night Report Christmas comic did okay, considering I'm not really a comic reviewer. Well, I'm not anymore. I used to blog about them and talk about them on my old channel, but there's no connection between my old stuff and my new stuff, so. But when you release Nightmare Before Christmas related media in October, you're gonna get some views, so that happened. As for the main free talk section, those would go up and down in viewership like crazy. Obviously, those Games Workshop videos did well. My Battletech Kickstarter unboxing did incredibly well, and a few of the other subjects I explored did very well. And then you have my review of Good Bad Things, which just it was just nothing. Teaches me a valuable lesson about reviewing independent films. Don't do that anymore. Otherwise, I think this section did pretty well, and I think people really like me talking about random stuff. So I will obviously be continuing this segment. I mean, this video is in that segment, so, you know, yeah. Of course, it's continuing. I very much like doing these, and it allows me to explore subjects where I normally wouldn't talk about them in any other video, but it's just something that's on my mind I want to discuss. In fact, my only lament is that I didn't cover the Fem Stodes controversy. For those who don't know, Games Workshop released a new codex for the Adeptus Custodes, and in it, there was a short story where there was a female custody. Needless to say, it caused controversy because you made a huge retcon to a well-established unit. Now, what got to me about this was the fact that you had lots of tourists with opinions on this subject. So you got one side going, yay, finally, take that, chuds. And you got the other side coming up going like, God, man, how could they do this to such a great franchise? And the one thing I kind of learned in the process is that a lot of people have never, ever played Warhammer, have no investment in Warhammer, but God knows they want to argue about whether or not we should make massive retcons because of current fads. And I would have loved to have done a video basically putting down both sides of tourists and saying that leave this to the actual players. I am not a Warhammer 40k player. My Warhammer experience is with video games, and a brother who is a player, so I have a lot of absorbed knowledge from that. And because of that, I don't feel like I'm in a position to say yes or no on some sort of major game retcon. And so because of that, I'm not going to go and jump in and give my 2 cents on a game I don't play. However, I will point out that now we have a whole bunch of people jumping up and down saying, well, this other source book says they're only dudes and they never released a female head. Retcon, unretconned, or something. It's an odd subject matter. I have no idea what Games Workshop's actual stance is on any of this, but what I do know is that certain subjects will always bring out the pretenders on both sides. And frankly, we need to gatekeep harder. Players should be making these arguments, not randos who think they have the answer because their political bias pushes them into saying stupid stuff on the internet. But you know, I'm just here drinking a beer. Next subject. So in terms of Gundam material, kind of some odd results. In terms of my top 20 ladies and top 20 guys, the ladies doubled the numbers of the guys and led to a whole load of arguments over who has the best waifu, which, as I said in that video, if you ask me tomorrow, I'll probably give you a completely different list. So maybe someday I'll do a second ladies list and it'll be a drastically different one. But if it's exactly the same, that's kind of weird. I do have plans for a Gundam-themed video for Valentine's Day again, which I'm sure will be zero controversy and no one will have any problems with any opinions I have about Gundam, ever. Because no one has ever had issues with my Gundam opinions. No siree, Bob. As for the Gunplas, regular kits didn't do that well. And I get it, I'm not here as some sort of Gunpla authority, so I'm not surprised when those videos don't do extravagantly well. What I will say is, when I talked about a P Bandai kit, there was a jump in views. When I talked about like the weapons kit, jump in views. So what this has taught me is to really focus on some P Bandai stuff next year to get that jump in views, and to sprinkle in regular lesser kits that hopefully the average person searching for Gunpla reviews will find and hopefully learn something about the kit they are considering buying. Last but not least is Battletech faction briefings. This got all my numbers this year. The one thing I did notice is that smaller units get smaller numbers, more popular units get bigger numbers. I know everyone in the audience is going, well, no duh, dude. But I was hoping that the audience would carry on between videos, that not everything needs to be the most popular guys, that the lesser guys need love too. And hopefully over time, those videos will gain more numbers. In addition to that, my Wolf's Dragoons were diminishing returns. Beta, Gamma, Delta, and Epsilon did significantly worse than Alpha. They didn't do terrible numbers. It wasn't like, oh, they only got 1 or 2 views. No. They did fine in terms of numbers. They did the average of a Battletech faction briefing video, but when you compare it to Alpha Regiment getting 1,600 plus views, it's a large difference. With the exception of Zeta Battalion and the Black Widow Company, both of which are a little bit more popular and probably brought in a few extra numbers than your average lesser regiment. What I probably should have done was Alpha through Epsilon as one video. It probably would have been a really long video, possibly an hour and a half, maybe even leaning on 2 hours. And I would have had to cut out a lot of pilots because the pilot section just would have gone on and on and on and on. And obviously I don't want to just bog you down of this pilot did this and this pilot did that. I like having that pilot section because I think it gives you a better understanding of the people who made the unit important. And if you're going to role play or something like that, these might be the characters you might want to integrate into your story. For the most part, I think bigger units into a large video that I spend an entire month working on, or sadly, probably 2 months working on. And if that's the case, I'm gonna have to figure out a way how to schedule it while also working on other content. And that to me is still up in the air. Heck, I'm not even determined on who my big summer unit will be. Part of me thinks Iridani Lighthorse, another part of me thinks Northwind Highlanders, and a third part of me, and I gotta say it, this is probably the loudest part of me, McKieran's Armored Cavalry. But otherwise, there will continue to be Battletech faction briefings videos going between house units and mercenary units to try to build up a better tapestry of the warriors of the inner sphere. And if I am asked nicely enough, I might jump into the periphery or possibly the clans. But we'll see what happens. As for the future, obviously there's going to be more free talks, more Battletech, more Gundam, more WotC. That goes without saying. I'm not sure if there's going to be more TV or movie reviews, like I said before, but we'll see what happens this year. In addition to that, as I said earlier, I am looking forward to starting to stream on YouTube now. I've been using Twitch for a while, but frankly, I don't really like Twitch. There's a lot of issues I have with it. I'm not going to get into them here, nor am I going to get into any of the weird policies that Twitch's company seems to have, because, yeah, that's a Gordian's knot I don't even want to think about. I feel that doing it here on YouTube will hopefully allow me to connect better with my YouTube fans, and maybe bring more fans into my channel. Win-win for everybody. In addition to that, I've considered last year doing interview videos. I used to do these on a couple old channels and podcasts I've worked on over the years, and so doing interviews again feels like it could be fun. I don't know if there's much of an audience for it because my convention videos just were like, psh, no one cared. But an interview is a bit different than a convention video. Me talking about a con that might be hundreds of miles away from you isn't really helpful. But me interviewing a voice actor or a VTuber or a artist or what have you, that could possibly bring in some views. If you like the idea, then please let me know in the comments. In fact, if you have anything you would like to see more of on my channel, let me know in the comments, because that's how I know what to do more of, outside of looking at just the numbers of who watched what. I've also been considering bringing back my Tavern Tales series and talking about various aspects of mythology. While my original ones didn't do that well, I also had almost no subscribers when I was doing those videos. So maybe I'll try a couple this year, just see how well they do, and we'll just go from there, I guess. They're fairly simple videos to do, and they're quite enjoyable. It also ties into a panel I've run at multiple conventions, the mythology of Final Fantasy, in addition to the fact that I've wanted to do a mythology panel based around Persona and Castlevania. But those have yet to show up at a convention. In fact, I think my biggest plan for this year is to do more conventions, run more panels, and hopefully get to know my fans a lot better. Overall, I'm really happy with how things turned out this year. My channel had a lot of growth, I had a lot of fun making my videos, and considering last year I was this close to quitting, and how enthusiastic I feel about my channel now, goes to show you that perseverance pays off. More importantly, I got to experience things this year I didn't expect to. I didn't expect to get in over my head with VTubers. I didn't expect to explore AI as a source for a dungeon master and AI as a source for companionship. Very odd results of that one. Still, I'm glad I had the experience. More than that, I'm glad that when I ran my panels at conventions, I had full rooms. I didn't do as many conventions this year as I normally do, but the ones I did had a lot of value to me, and I hope those who watched my panels quite enjoyed them. Considering how many people come up to me and talk to me afterwards, I get the feeling people really do enjoy my panels. This was a great year for me. It was a great year for the channel, and I hope it was a great year for you. Before I go, I want to give some special thanks to a few people who really helped me out this year. Partway through this year, I had to change the person who did my title card stuff for reasons I'm not going to get into on the show. But I did have 3 different people make title cards for me, and I even made title cards myself, which were, not great. So a big thank you to Dan, Lynn, and Ethan for making title cards for me. My new current title card maker, Ethan, is awesome, and not just because he's my brother, but also because he does great work. I want to give a special thanks also to a few other people. They know why. Axel the Cake, Azur Mage, VV Chan the Dragon. You guys were all awesome. Thank you very much for just your encouragement and positive vibes. And of course, a special thanks to my muse, Lily Bell. And finally, the most important person I want to thank is you, the viewer. If you've gotten this far, thank you so much for watching. If you've watched one of my videos, or you've watched every one of my videos, thank you for watching. If you just like Battletech, or you just like Gunpla, or you just like me ranting about Wizards or Games Workshop, thank you for watching. If you liked my horror reviews, or my Tavern Tales, or any of the other oddball stuff I've done over the years, thank you for watching. If not for you, I wouldn't have continued this channel, and I wouldn't know that there's some really awesome people online and in the Battletech fandom, because my experiences of the Battletech fandom were not good prior to working on my videos. Whenever I tried to get to know people online who are Battletech fans, they were always hyper rude to me, whether they were on Reddit or Twitter or whatever. I just could never connect with them. And through YouTube, I've met some cool people. Hopefully I can play against some of you in the future, or at least we can hang out and just talk about our favorite factions, our favorite battle mechs, our favorite books, etc. I'm so grateful for this year. Every day in December, leading up into Christmas, I posted a positive message thing on X. And the reason why I did this was to help anyone who was feeling holiday depression the way I do. Part of me was doing it to just tell myself to keep going. That my depression doesn't control me, and I can continue to move forward even if I'm feeling like my body and brain are fighting me every step of the way. And to anyone who suffers from depression, anyone who has faced a tragedy this year, anyone who struggles day to day because of how difficult life can be and how cruel the world can be to you, I just want you to know that you can keep going. You can keep fighting, because that's how you win. They always say that history is written by the winners, and it is. So go out there, stay alive, do your best, fight the good fight, support independent, and no matter what, never give up, never surrender, to quote one of my favorite movies. So as I wrap up, let me just say, have a happy new year. And remember, 2025 is going to be great, not just for me, but for you as well. We're going to kick all the ass next year. And I can't wait for you to fight alongside me. Because today we might be a company, but tomorrow we will be a regiment. So here's to you, my friends. Stay strong, stay safe, and most importantly, remember, I'll see you at the tavern. Sláinte. Ah, c'est là.